Hey folks, welcome to my live stream. Let me get my branding on there. Amazing. Thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for all the questions as well. I'm going to try and get to as many of them as possible. So this week I have invited the amazing Steve Levy to come in and chat with me about everything that is wrong and can be improved about recruiting. So let me patch Steve in. Steve, welcome.
Lewis, it's not just the negative part. It's not just everything that's wrong.
Everything's amazing too. Everything that's amazing too.
Well, amazing may be pushing things a bit far, but the bar to excellence in recruiting isn't terribly high across the board. So, what we consider to be extraordinary is
No, you're right. I was always told when I was deciding to set up my own firm, a guy was like, you only have to be a little bit better than the competition. And the bar's low. So, white glove service, do what you say, treat people human, to quote our friend Katrina Collier. And you'll be all right. So, and in fact, why we talk about that, because you did want me to say this. So how we met. I headhunted you for a search I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, it didn't work. For a few reasons. So
it happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm pleased about is that we have remained friends, and you still talk to me, which is which is a great thing.
Which is remarkable considering something. Have you ever heard of the equine paradox?
No, tell me.
It asks the question, why is it there's so few horses but so many horses' asses? So it's so we've managed, not just because it didn't work out, you did your best. We realized, how many people we have in common.
Yes, this is true.
Miss Katrina Collier being one of those people.
Yeah, and you wrote a chapter in her book.
Well, I didn't write a chapter, but chapter 5 in the Robot Proof Recruiter is based on conversations that Katrina had with me and a few other of my peers in the industry.
Right.
So you are not real brain surgery, quite frankly. It's kind of logical stuff.
Right. That's good. So why on recruiting? I mean, in terms of like hiring managers, talent acquisition professionals, do you think? Big question is: do you think people are giving it enough thought around what skills they actually need and what problem they're trying to solve?
It's a loaded question. I wonder if somebody must have fed you that.
It's a big question. That
it's a big question. I think, but behind that,
you WhatsApp me that last night. I think
I might have done that. I think that the big issue in recruiting is invariably, why do we hire people? Not just to keep a seat warm and collect a paycheck. We hire people to solve problems. I think invariably the way most job descriptions are written and the way most people have been accustomed to doing a job search is based on, presence or absence of skills.
Yeah.
That's a big gap between skills and problem solving. And I think most the bulk of the profession makes the mistake, and it's not just the recruiters, it's the hiring managers too. They don't realize that we do in fact hire people to solve problems, not just to check off, buzzwords.
Oh, so you're finding that people aren't thinking about why, like, what problem does this person solve for me if we hire them?
Well, generally speaking, that goes to the whole concept of, why would somebody come to your company? Why would somebody leave a perfectly good job and come to you? What would they be doing at your place that they wouldn't be doing there?
Yeah.
What types of things would they be accomplishing? What, in 90 to 180 days, what will they have absolutely accomplished? It tells you that hiring them was the right thing to do. It's problems. We hire, whether it's tax or accounting or customer service or pick and pack or investment banking. It doesn't matter. We're paying people so they can get stuff done. I almost said my first bad word.
It's true. But then why doesn't that happen? So many people are hiring, just, I don't know, they doesn't feel like they put enough thought into it. It's, it's just like this pedigree thing. They've gone to, they were from this firm, I was at this firm, they must be great, let's get them in, let's find something for them to do. I don't know, it feels like there's just not quite enough proper thought around it.
I mean, human beings like using heuristics, shortcuts to decision making. Make assumptions. Well, they went to Oxford, they went to Harvard, they must be brilliant. We know we both know stupid people who've been to both universities. and merely the presence of a skill, of a line on your resume does not bring with it expertise. It does not bring with it the ability to come up with an innovative solution to a problem that's been keeping you awake at night. You're about to say
no, but what it does, though, if you're the hiring manager, it gives you comfort. I mean, can you imagine you're in a company, I don't know, you're middle management, you've been asked to hire someone, to a tricky economy. John from the next department was made redundant last week, and you're there thinking, right, do I go hire someone, got this person from my direct competitor, or this person that could potentially be absolutely outstanding? It's very hard for that middle manager to go, to go for the candidate who's not from the direct competitor. It's just a safer.
So yeah, I guess the safe bet is to just make the assumption that just because a person comes with a certain, colored shirt, that's the right shirt. What's missing in that scenario is literally having a substantive conversation with them, a performance-based conversation with them. Not just the usual times about, tell me about a time, the competency-based questions, which are important, but they're not everything. Competency-based questions are nice. They're big in bar raiser situations, but they're not everything.
Yeah.
I mean, part of what I like doing is in coming into a new situation is, talking to a hiring manager and tell me, 6 months ago, 1 year from now, in your experience in this place, describe for me a problem that others will have to go through that when you met it for the first time, kicked your ass.
Yeah. I like that.
So let's go through, you now with the hindsight of knowledge, what solution was implemented and it worked. May not have worked as well as you want to do, but it worked. You pose scenarios like that. Lewis, I want to talk to you. I want to describe a situation here. I'm going to frame it out for you. Help me understand how you'd go about solving the problem. Lead me step by step. Let's talk about it. I want to know how you think about it. I want to know about what resources you may need. It's all what if. Feel free to whiteboard. Feel free to, use your hands and, scream, with your hands, whatever is needed. Let me understand how it is you're going to go about solving the problem.
Yeah.
3 scenarios if you're dealing with real problems. Number 1, person comes up with a solution that was similar to the one that you came up with. Okay, I feel good about that one. Number 2, person can't solve it. There's 2 nods. You don't hire them, push them aside. 3rd scenario, they come up with something you didn't think about. Okay.
Yeah.
We have something here. Sure, there's comfort in hiring somebody who worked, at this particular company in this particular industry. There's a saying, it's called incest is only relative. and so when and many industries do this, they hire, you look at resumes from people that are hired for certain roles, and it's the same company just rotated around. And what that does over time, incest is a bad thing. Bad things happen when you have sex with your family.
That's true. This is, and also this thing of diversity of thought, right? You want people to come in with different life experiences, different perspectives, different views. It's great. I mean, maybe they'd be harder to manage because you've got so many different opinions and stuff, but it's wonderful.
Then if heterogeneity is tough for you to manage, then there are a couple of ways to respond to that. Number one, maybe you shouldn't be managing. Number two, maybe you need to be educated. Maybe you need more education, more development in that area. Or three, maybe you just need to get some help.
Yeah.
But just because someone is inherently challenging to manage, I've been down that route personally, doesn't mean that given the right situation they can't be productive.
Very true.
And you don't have to manage everybody with the same lens.
Yeah.
I mean, even though in organizations that's what HR likes, they like having consistency, across. But sometimes no, you can't. Creativity is not necessarily something that you want to put reins on. You don't want to put blinders on them either. You want to have this free reign to run and come up with things that others haven't come up with.
Yeah. It's interesting. And for people at the mid-level, even senior level, you almost need the permission of senior management to go and find someone with potential. Go and assess for these skills rather than go after someone from a similar firm.
I mean, assessing for potential means posing scenarios that you haven't seen before. It's posing scenarios that have made you uncomfortable in the past. It's posing scenarios that might not be seen or might be just so way out there. And what's the thing? The only stupid question is a question you don't ask, or something of that sort. Ask absurd questions. I don't mean, why are manhole cover round, or how many ping pongs does it take to fit into your living room there. But ask questions that are related to the types of problems and situations that somebody in the role you're hiring is going to be facing. It means forever educating yourself on these things, and being a lifelong learner, and that's hard. It takes time.
Yeah. You've got to be brave. You've got to think a little bit more about how you interview and what you're trying to find out. Because I certainly find just so many hiring managers and recruiters making assumptions about people. They must be great because they've gone to Oxford, worked here, worked there. It just feels like we really, really need to move away from that and just give it a lot more thought, as you said, around how you assess people.
I mean, look, you can hire people. You can hire people who can solve the exact problems you need, the way you think you need to have them solved, or you can have people who are going to come up with solutions that they're not illegal, they're not immoral, they're not fattening, but they're different.
Yeah.
Difference makes people uncomfortable.
And that's good. That's when you learn.
I mean, it's no different than going to the gym. How do you get stronger? Well, you lift heavier weights. You hurt for several days after a hard workout.
Yeah.
The analogies are similar.
Yeah. Like be comfortable being uncomfortable. You learn, you develop, you get fresh ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great. It's great. What do you think on the assessment stuff? So psychometrics have been, flavor of the month for a long time. Are you using them? How do you use them?
Well, we use them at M&T Bank, and I've used them in the past. The standard, you have some fairly standard ones from a leadership point of view, calipers, DISC, Myers-Briggs, which I know Carl Jung is just turning in his grave over how what we've done to his archetypes. You have some companies still using the Wonderlic, which by the way always makes me chuckle, because the Wonderlic is used in American football, and so I do always wonder how come if the Wonderlic's being used, how come we're not having sea levels do running dashes or bench contests as well to go along with them, because they're
should they maybe, why not?
Who knows? Maybe we will. they're data points.
Yeah.
In my doctoral work, psychometrics was a big part of it. I'm a stat wonk. I love that stuff. I love Cronbach's alpha. I love that's the reliability. That's fun stuff.
Yeah.
Now go look up Cronbach's alpha. We'll have a special thing on stats after this. But psychometrics and building tests, it's a fascinating area. And I think companies tend to become comfortable with a certain slate of assessments. And you become so good at using a hammer, everything begins to look like a nail. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just something that is. You baseline it. But I think like with any assessment tool, it needs to be rejiggered every so often.
Okay.
And I don't think I tend to think that not enough of that actually takes place.
So and when are you doing it in the process? So beginning, middle, end. Like what's your optimal spot?
The way I've been at places in which these assessments are given early in the process, and then right as we're getting towards that offer phase, we think that okay, and that's a 6 of 1/2 dozen another proposition. Early on, maybe someone is not as being as open.
Yeah.
They're not as invested. The more I tend to think the more you can get somebody invested in your process, and that has to do with engagement and interview styles and whatnot, the more of themselves that they're going to give to you.
Yes.
And so if you wait later on in the process before and you've built the rapport, these tests theoretically shouldn't be a difference between the different stages, but there are differences depending on the comfort zone and what have you.
You also tend to find if it's done at the end, then you're just doing it to justify the decision that you've already made. Whereas it feels like
haven't you had clients in which they've gone through the assessment at the end and there were red flags raised?
Yes, I have. Absolutely.
And then the offers, it didn't come through.
Yeah, true.
So it has to be egregious.
Yes, you've got to. I mean, you're right. It just feels like for me, if you're going to use it as extra data, extra information, which is great because otherwise, interviewing is a little bit like speed dating, right? Meet them for an hour, you decide if you like them or not, you move on to the next stage. I think I like the psychometrics because it gives you data that you can use if you use it. I'm not convinced how much people actually look at these things. And
well, the theory is if you're going to use it's called conversion validity is the research concept. If you think about it, if a behavioral question points to this, if a cognitive question points to this, if a psychometric test points to this, there's convergent validity. Okay, fine. We're both all converging on this one middle ground here.
Yeah.
So that's important. To the extent that if you're going to be using assessment, have you use multiple modalities and go for that convergent validity. But if one test is saying this and another mode is saying, coming to this conclusion, another one saying this, I'm trying to look on screen, be all different places, you're not getting at at something that is singular.
Yeah. So use a few different ones, and then go through. I've also found that it's being used at every level, by the way, because quite a few people I speak to when they do them, they're like, oh, isn't this something I would have done at school or graduate level? And I'm finding people are doing it the whole way through. So if you're in a process, embrace it.
Tests are nice. What's your Myers-Briggs archetype? Okay, well, it's a nice conversation if you want to run through. You can find a website to tell you if you're an INTJ, you're good at this and not good at this, and on and on and on and on. It makes for good banter.
Yeah. I think it's great stuff. You learn about yourself. Back to your point about be a lifelong learner. you know, like, why not? You know, and when I do these things, I always see myself within them. I mean, you know, there's a degree of accuracy, but you kind of like, you know, you think about it and you're like, yeah, you know, that's probably about right.
What's your Myers-Briggs archetype?
I think it's ENTJ.
Jay.
Yeah.
Me
So
too. Very similar, which lends towards the heavy question asking, the inquisitiveness. And for me, I'm borderline EI. I don't know if you remember your actual score,
I
but
don't remember my score.
I remember when I did my full Myers-Briggs, I think on the IE introversion extroversion scale, I think it was a 3. So it was really on the cusp.
Yeah.
And you know it and the introversion extroversion scale is not being an introvert and extrovert, for those who don't know. It's where you take your cues from in terms of decision making. And so
also it's also interesting about how introverts and extroverts have been dealing with this pandemic. On a slight side point, us recruiters, like, I've said, for me, I get energy from meeting people. So, you know, it's been an interesting, what's the right word? I don't know. Interesting way to work. Yeah, I mean, it's
interesting is a good word. Come on, man. I've been the M&T Bank. We went full remote. I believe it was March 9th of 2020, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of people I've interviewed since then.
Yeah.
But I've had interviews where, I'm talking to someone. I tell them straight out when I have these interviews, look, I do a lot of technical stuff, and I say, look, I mean, I was an engineer for 15 years before I crossed over to the dark side. I said, look at me, I look more like a biker than a banker. I don't look like I'm in HR. Look, I know that engineers hate interviews. I know that engineers, live our lives at the intersection of ADHD highway and Asperger's Boulevard. I mean, all these things that, chuckle and so they realize that we're just having a conversation. I'm not grilling you. I'm not gonna pound about different data structures or architectural frameworks. That's not the point. So I want to find out about you as a human being.
Yeah. Are they wearing a suit and tie, and you're wearing your hat and t-shirt?
No, sometimes they have. I go, I can see the t-shirt underneath your collar shirt. You can take the collar shirt off, and they do. Many times they do. They go, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Because part of the challenge is, if someone is not going to be comfortable in an interview, are you sure you're getting the best out of them? Are you getting and the answer to me is unequivocally no. I'd rather the true Lewis come out, and then we conclude together that this isn't the best place for you, but I will help you. You tell me companies that do interest you, and I will hook you up. And that's how it worked. That's how this work from home, interview from home rift during the last year. But the point I was going to make is the conversation is the number of people who I've interviewed who ended up having to pull their kids on their laps. They're working from home, or hey, hold on, I gotta get my son or daughter has to go to the bathroom. I go, fine, I'm 61, so do I. I'll be right back. It's just, recruiters are just I don't know if we're afraid, but we're dealing with other human beings, Lewis.
I love that stuff.
Under circumstances like this that most have never been through before.
No.
And what's the point of putting the smackdown on people?
Yeah.
Just it's interview to include rather to exclude.
Yeah, I love that.
If you want to exclude, focus on specific problems to be solved. Look, we're asking you you're going to be asked to do this. Have you done it? If you haven't, how would you do it? No one's going to deny. No one's going to think negatively of you if you go that route. And then they'll know if they can't do that, if they haven't done it. People will be honest with you. Honesty is it's easy to get to that level of honesty if you start off by being honest.
Yeah. and also the experience for the candidates so much better, right? And we haven't spoken about that, but just being big topic. Maybe we'll have to do that another time. But I just, the experience of just being human, being nice, letting people be themselves, and then you really start to find out. I mean, that's what it's about. If you're it's one of the biggest life decisions someone's ever going to make, right?
Exactly.
To go and spend more time with you probably on video now than they would do with their wife. It's like big life decision, and you need to give people space and time.
Spouse or their partner. Ultimately, look, my initial conversations with people are somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes. And I guess about 10 to 15 minutes of that is just pre-banter, trying to get into the point where at least they're comfortable. I mean,
Yes.
I this is what I do for a living. I can talk to rocks. I can talk to an empty coffee cup if I have to. But that is not what, other people do.
Yeah.
And
You've got to make them comfortable, set the scenario.
And then just I'm going to pose you some things. I go, look, man, what do you really want to do?
Yeah.
Why are you looking? Why are you really looking? People tell me the darndest things. If people know honesty, they also know BS. And when you're just, the interview is a checklist.
Yeah.
They know that you don't care about me. It's just these things that I can bring to a table. There's got to be more to that. I mean, this is a really important job we do, Lewis.
Yeah.
And whether we're doing it in a consultative capacity, a search capacity, in-house, corporate, outhouse, third party, tongue in cheek, outhouse, get it? And we're changing, potentially asking people to make the biggest change in their life.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And especially these days, in which remote is taking more of a front seat, and relocation. I don't have to live in San Francisco where a hovel costs 1.2 million US. I can go to another part of the country, and
it's tough. You don't even get to try people's biscuits before you join now. It's difficult stuff. It's the
trying people's biscuits. That's the key thing. I will work that into my next interview.
I want to ask you a question. I've got a question. I've had a bunch of questions come in, but this one is nice because it's about feedback, and it feels like feedback's the natural next step for us. And I had this a few days ago, which I posted on.
Yeah, who's asking these questions? That's the important thing.
So, well, these ones have been emailed in. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I can't let these, who asked this one, probably Katrina or something. But I got asked this a few days ago, and I posted it on LinkedIn, and I had a bunch of people give advice, which is interesting. And this friend of mine, she's had 5 interviews, 3 weeks have gone by, no feedback. Ooh. And she's like, I really want the job, and this person's unemployed. I want the job.
I've seen this, yeah.
Yeah. What do you do? And I post that because that comes, and I hear this all the time. I constantly get asked the question, just from friends, candidates, whatever. Just, what do I do? And this is direct, so they didn't go through an agency.
They know. And the person in the company is ghosting them.
Yeah, like they've sent a few emails, 3-4 emails. It's difficult because you want, it's a balance, right? You want the job. So as a candidate out of work, it's like, how much should you push? What time is it okay to then pick up the phone and be like, right, I've invested 5 interviews, right? So that's like 3 hours per interview, an hour thinking time and prep, an hour interview, downloading it after. Right, that's at least 15 hours that this person's invested, at least. And unfortunately, it's all too common. The
problem here is, let me, hopefully this person is listening. Let's say, for example, remember the days when we used to be able to fly on airplanes, and we experienced horrible customer service. We thought nothing of firing out a tweet or posting something on social media to that company, to their CEO. Like, are you kidding me? This is how you treat your customers? Part of me wants that person to, honestly call them out. I honestly, and this is the devil. This is you're sort of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. But I think it's best if you do. If you haven't heard from something in that long, newsflash, it's not happening.
Yeah. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you're left with what kind of person do I want to be? Okay. Do I just let it go? Let my principles go by the wayside, or would I, in this case, do a LinkedIn post and tag the person?
That's brave.
But hear me out. Hear me out on this. I'm only doing this because I want to help others. If that person also wants to tag me on that post, you have my permission. Back in 2014, I did a keynote at SourceCon in Denver. It was the infamous the Lenny Bruce moment in our industry. It was about engagement,
right?
And in it, I had people open up their laptop and in Google type the phrase recruiters space AR space and not hit return. Have you ever done that, Lewis?
No, never done that.
Okay. And so if you do that, if you type, recruiters space AR space.
Yeah.
I'm curious what comes up.
So we've got recruiters Bentonville AR, recruiters Fayetteville, and recruiters Fort Smith AR.
Now, in this case, let me just try it here for a second. I'm going to just, at least here in the States, recruiters are that my predictive stuff is off on this particular one. But what a way it was is recruiters are bad.
I've got it here. Trash, shady.
Yes. And so people, that is the first time anyone ever done that. And, I talked about the lies that recruiters tell, when recruiters reach out to you, on LinkedIn, I coined the phrase in-malling. And in-malling is, when I don't know about you, but I get about 17 to 18 a week of people saying, I love your profile. You're a perfect fit for our senior software engineer opening we have.
No one headhunts me, Steve. No one headhunts me.
Well, we'll see what we can do after this one, Lewis. But the point is, that's called in-malling. When the platform makes it so easy to just throw crap out there. I love your profile. I ask people in the audience, how many of you, when you reach out to people, use the word love in your email? I love your profile. Okay. How many of you use multiple exclamation points? Okay. I said, keep your hands up. For those whose hands are up and use love, how many of you on a real committed relationship, keep your hands up? I said, who do you love more? And I led through this process whereby ultimately I put a slide up and it said, recruiters are douchebags. We have a problem in our profession. We don't want to face things like that, but the barrier to entry into recruiting is not very high.
Very true. And
it doesn't matter what side of the pond you're on.
Yeah.
And so who is going to look after the profession? Is it the
ourselves?
People? It's ourselves. There's a reason why, many years ago, Jerry Crispin and Ben Gotkin, this has been Jerry Crispin's idea for years, but, the Association of Talent Acquisition Professionals, there's a group of us who helped start, and I'm one of the, the co-founders with Jerry and Ben Gotkin and Michael Casdo. We're building this global recruiting association, and it's not just corporate recruiters or agency recruiters, anybody who's associated with it. It's inclusive at its core, and it's about just being better. So to this point, if someone is ghosting you, someone has to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And so if it means putting something out on social media to call someone out, look, I tell people straight out, look, I'm doing the best I can. I drop things from time to time. We're human beings. I said, I don't mind. And I give people, here's my phone number. If, use it.
I say to people as well, I mean, I will get back to you, but if I haven't,
just bother me.
Don't hesitate. Yeah. Just get in touch.
And after a while, and if you say it, you mean it. And I know when I screw it up, and I will apologize to you, and I will make it right. But it's not even saying, but sounds like an excuse. We're humans. We're doing the best we can. But in this case, I would call the person out.
Yeah.
I actually, the post, I think it was on Facebook where I saw where this person, I saw this
on LinkedIn. I put it on LinkedIn.
If I'm that person, I'm going to do a screenshot of that, and I'm going to send that screenshot to this person. And
there were like, I don't know, 20 odd comments everyone, there's a lot of, it's not cool. But you know what? I mean, if you're the recruiter, internal recruiter that's dropped the ball on this, it just feels also that you can do something about it. Like if you're a hiring manager, just appreciate that people have invested time, give them 10 minutes to give some feedback, even if it's a no. It's a gift to give feedback. Someone just wants to know.
It is. And that's why I tell everybody, look, if it doesn't work out here, tell me who you're interested in. And I will connect you. And I do that all the time. And what else can you do?
Yeah.
I mean it when I say it. And I said, I'm going to help you. If it doesn't work out here for whatever reason, I'm going to help you. Don't think that it's the last you'll ever hear from me.
Yeah. It's a
very long life.
Boom. I think that's a great place to end, Steve. If anyone wants help, Steve's the man. No, it's good. It's good. It's true.
Look, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I mean, I look like this. I look more like this on LinkedIn. Hold on.
Yes.
There. I look more like.
I'm going that way too.
And I'm on Twitter. I'm Levy Recruits. On Instagram, I'm Levy Recruits. If you ever get truly bored and you want to read stuff I've written, just Google 3 words: Steve Levy Recruiting. That's me. And whatever I can do to help you or help your friends or family, through this, whether it's a, resume review, hey, who do you know there, on a global nature, and not just in the States. I do stuff on a global nature.
Great.
Reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me.
You're welcome, Lewis.
Always a pleasure. I'm going to get you back in for another one soon.
Works for me, Lewis.
Have a good one.
You too, man. Cheers.
Bye.